Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 4, where we will learn to be thinking like a Roman when it comes to determining the declension of a noun or adjective. Make sure that you have a copy of the noun and adjective list in front of you, as well as your noun chart. When we look at the noun chart, there are a lot of inflectional endings for us to consider. To be able to think like a Roman, we need to know how to recognize when the inflectional ending a is a singular subject or a plural direct object. We have to be able to know when the we see on the end of a noun or adjective is a genitive plural or an accusative singular. And what about the inflection is? Am I looking at a possessive noun in the genitive case or the indirect object of a sentence? A Roman will not have any difficulty answering these questions. A Roman will say, mihi non difficile est. It is not difficult for me. The reason that he can say this is because he also can say intelligo declinationem. I understand declension. Remember that declension is simply a word that means a group of nouns. And understanding how to identify the declension or the group that a noun belongs to is the key to knowing what ending to use and how to interpret the ending when we are reading. Now, let's review how to determine the declension of a noun. Here is a vocabulary list filled with words from the list that you have just finished studying. We want to look at the genitive form of a noun in order to determine its declension. You'll notice that terra terrae has a genitive form of ae. That indicates it belongs to first declension. All nouns with ae on the genitive will belong to that same declension. Now let's turn our attention to bellum belli, kibus kibi, and puer pueri. Notice that each of these nouns in the genitive form ends with the letter I. That makes them second declension. All nouns that have I on the genitive form will be second declension nouns. Now let's turn our attention to the nouns aitas, aitatis, pater, patris, and tempus, temporis. These are third declension nouns because the genitive form ends with is. All nouns that have a genitive ending of is will be from third declension. Now we are going to complete a quick review of how to determine the gender of first, second, and third declension nouns. We need to review this because the gender of a noun is also a contributing factor to the set of endings that it will use in addition to its declension. Let's take first declension nouns as our first example. First declension nouns are always going to be feminine. There are, however, a few exceptions to the rule. They involve the nouns agricola, agricolae, which is farmer, nauta, nautai, which means sailor, and poeta, poetae, which means poet. These nouns are masculine in first declension because they name male occupations. It is important to note that the gender of a first declension noun will not change the ending that it uses. Whether the noun from first declension is feminine or masculine, they will all use the same first declension noun endings. Third declension nouns can be of any gender. masculine, feminine, or neuter, as we see here on the vocabulary list. You do not have to think about what the gender is going to be because it will always be provided for you on the vocabulary list. It is important to pay attention to the gender of the third declension noun when you see it on the vocabulary list because the endings are somewhat different for neuter nouns than they are for masculine and feminine nouns. Second declension nouns can be masculine if the nominative form ends with R or US, like puer and kibbutz. Second declension nouns that have a nominative ending of like bellum, will be neuter. Make sure you have written this information down if you did not remember it. For now it is time to quiz yourself to see if you have a firm grasp on this information before moving forward.